Now, Mike, you touched upon this in your blog, which is called
Billy Paul's Revisited.
The NBA Draft, and you've done this for 3 or 4 years. You blog while the draft's going on. What was amazing to me was I think the Sixers did the right thing by getting Evan Turner. Great, solid character guy. Is going to be good.
Yep.
I love the fact that they didn't draft a guy just based on potential and what he could be in 2 or 3 years.
Upside.
Your team is bad. Yeah, wingspan. Don't even bring me up wingspan.
Upside and wingspan, baby.
Great words. They drafted a guy, high character, is going to play well for him. So many teams were dumping picks because of this free agency coming up. That's our real topic here, although I wanted to mention I liked Evan Turner. You had this in your blog as well. It's unbelievable what some of these teams have done by dumping players. Miami has basically 2 guys under contract right now, and they may make it 1 if they get rid of Beasley. Your thoughts on free agency as a whole? Where are these guys going to go? July 1st, which is Thursday, we're taping this on a Wednesday this week. It becomes like New Year's Day. I think at 12:01 you're gonna see Dick Clark, and he's gonna.
It really is. It's an amazing thing. One player can have so much impact in the NBA. Chemistry means so much. How players fit together, and all of these elements combined. This is probably the most interesting off season in the history of any sport. I mean, this is really going to shuffle the deck of the NBA. And I was just reading upstairs that the Knicks are gonna meet with LeBron tomorrow, and they're going to tell him, we're going to get Joe Johnson. You come here, we're going to get Joe Johnson. We're going to get Chris Bosh or Amari Stoudemire, and we're going to have cap space left over the next year to go get maybe Carmelo Anthony. But you're going to have to take $2 or $3 million less than you would take to play somewhere else. We make up for it because we're New York. That's what that's their selling point is we're New York. We're the capital of the world.
Yeah, I've read also they're going to be telling me that this is your destiny. Like, I'm going to bring in James Earl Jones, I think.
Baby.
This is your destiny. I am your father. Why would you take less to play in New York? He can go to Miami, get $16 million a year because the way they've got it set up, play with Dwayne Wade and maybe Chris Bosh there and have this mega forces. The biggest thing I see there is egos and who gets to be the man at the end of a game.
You're right. That's right. That is an interesting aspect of this. And here's another interesting way that plays into what you're talking about. The assumption is, when we're talking about this Knicks thing, the assumption is we're going to bring in Bosh and we're going to bring in Joe Johnson and we're going to bring in LeBron, and we're, whatever they are, $40 million under the cap. So those 3 guys are going to evenly divide that $40 million. So LeBron's going to be making the same salary as Joe Johnson? No, that's not going to happen. So then is Joe Johnson going to be happy with that if he's making less than LeBron? I mean, there's so many ways that ego, this almost forces ego to come into it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that these guys are egomaniacs, that ego is going to be a factor in this.
You almost think David Stern should sit down and try to divide these guys out a little bit, because it's a chance that he actually could strengthen his league that has so much. You've got the haves and the have-nots right now, and you actually could do some justice for this league.
Well, except that you're right. That would be nice, but then if he's like divvying out the talent, then that's a big step toward Vince McMahonville. If you do that, but in some ways, it's sort of a fantasy scenario. That would be nice. I see what you're
just
saying.
Without the steroids and maybe the women in loose clothing. Oh, we have that already.
Bada boom.
I think Miami could be good. I still think Boston could get in the mix of this. Now, why am I saying that? Paul Pierce is probably going to opt out. He's guaranteed $21 million in his contract, but as an opt-out, he wants a 3-year deal, gets him in that $56 million range, because these guys, the collective bargaining agreement comes up, they want to get their money while they can. If he opts out, and Ray Allen also, okay, why would LeBron James go to Boston? One, nice market. You get to play the Lakers. You got a good point guard in
Rajon Rondo.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. You got Kevin Garnett already there. There's your number 2 man, and he gets to be the man in Boston.
That actually makes a lot of sense. You've been selling that one for a little while here, Starkey, and I'm starting to buy it. I think that makes a lot of sense, because the big 3 is probably going to be broken up, and if it is, Danny Ainge is a guy who's very decisive. And not a whole lot of sentiment involved. Ray Allen, get out of here. See you later. I mean, I don't think he'll have any problem with that. So I think Boston ought to be talked about a little more than they are. I think you're onto something there, Stark.
I think the NBA wants to keep these big markets looking good, because when the championship was Cleveland versus San Antonio,
right.
Cincinnati, they had a 6 rating. When
Small
it was Boston
markets,
and LA, they had a 14.
Again,
that makes a big difference.
Yeah, we're marketing, unfortunately, we're marketing sports to the casual fan, but rather than the real fan, but that's the way of the world. And again, fascinating stuff. It's going to really get hot and heavy in July 1st, but already now it's pretty interesting.